Today, we've chosen the most surprising player on every NFL team. And if you'd like us to cover disappointing players, make sure to drop a like because I was tempted to do that in this video. I felt some negativity in my life, a little toxicity, if you will. We're going to start in the AFC East. How about we start with New England?
I wanted to do some of the disappointing players as well, too, man. New England might be the easiest decision of all time to come up with a surprising player. I think it has to be Drake May. Dude, I don't know if we're allowed to say it, but he's kicking ass this season. He's unbelievable. Fun fact, this year he's already at 2,800 yards. Last year only had 2,200. He's doing well. He's got the Patriots in the right direction. Who do you have?
I mean, that's an understatement in the right direction. I mean, last year they finished 4-13. As we're recording, they almost look unstoppable. They're on quite the winning streak, and hey, I'm not surprised that he's been good or that he's been improving. But how can you even talk about the type of season that he's had? I mean, we're looking at over 70% completion rate, averaging over 250 yards a game. He can do all types of different throws, well weighted. He looks like a seasoned vet. He moves well with his feet. Yeah, Drake May, we just keep it moving. Let's go to a team that it's hard to find surprises for. And I've got the New York Jets. We got to change the energy very quickly because that's too much positivity for Boston and New England.
I had a feeling. I didn't know which way you were going to go the second you said not a lot of positivity with it. It could have been the Dolphins or the Jets. Just two teams, though, that don't have a whole lot going on. I think the disappointing video will be a lot easier.
The entire team.
It could be. Team. I was going to say, it might actually be tougher to just nail one player on that. For the Jets, though, I went with Mason Taylor. He's their number 2 receiver in terms of yards on their team, and I don't think anybody expected that right away, especially from a tight end. So I went with him. Once again, though, they just suck overall. So
I mean, Brees is going to get his yards. The offense is tough to watch. You can't talk about Fields with anything about, I guess, being surprised. Maybe if we wanted to go the route saying that he's been so poor or so bad. But I think going to the Jets, that franchise has it like in their back door. If anything, I would have maybe given some love to some of the defensive players, but they shipped out a couple key components of the defense. I also put Mason Taylor. He's showing potential from the tight end position, of course. He's been one of the positive draws, if you will, especially with the fact that they just throw the ball so poorly. There's not many QBs that hold the ball longer than Justin Fields. And he comes from royalty, of course, being the son of Jason Taylor, who was a Miami Dolphin legend. And that sort of, you see what I was doing there, trickles into the Miami Dolphins as a smooth transition.
I like the transition. Another team, I think the biggest surprise that McDaniels is still standing on the sideline, but we'll get into that in the next video. Only thing that surprised me about the Dolphins with how horrific of a season they're having is that I don't think anybody would expect that Waddle is only 22 yards away from having more yards than last year already, which I would expect everybody's numbers to be on a complete downturn. I know obviously he's one of the stars, but that was just one of the surprising kind of facts I found about them.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Achane, and I think he's the truth. Top 10 running back for me in the league. You know it's coming. This is not a team that's full of a bunch of offensive diversity. If anything, Tua and your boy McDaniels kind of create high levels of inconsistency and unreliability. It's going to be just one of these at all times. We'll see how they close out the year. But it's not unlikely that Achane goes for over 2,000 yards combined on the offensive end between rushing and receiving. And I'm also a fan of the modern running back. I don't know where you fall on that, but I like this dynamic running back movement that we're seeing where the guys they run like the running backs and they move and they groove, but they also are almost as good as receivers, just catching the ball out of the back. And at this point, why not? Make your skill positions, go ahead and put on for the culture. But I like Achane's game a lot. I don't know if it's a hot take to have him in the top 10, but that's where I've got him for now, which leads us with the Buffalo Bills.
Bills are a weird one too, because I feel like a lot of those players are performing. I do find it really funny that anytime we've called out a player, by the way, they just do incredible the next week. And that just seems to be the trend of what's happening. And I would like to apologize about my dog jumping up during the middle of recording there. But I went with James Cook just because I think as like an average football fan, a lot of people would probably think he's having a pretty underwhelming season because he has less touchdowns than we're used to seeing. You know, if you're scrolling Twitter, it's like, oh, James Cook, you see everybody that's cooked up a parlay and James Cook touchdown. You see a whole lot less of it this year. But the thing is, he's on pace for his career year in terms of rushing. And I don't think I would have expected that whatsoever.
I'm glad that you mentioned James Cook because at this point, at least as we're recording, he's almost already rushed for nearly as many yards as he had last year, the season before, last couple seasons, I suppose. And his presence is growing. It's never really been this large. It's a breakout year, to your point with the parlays. If you have him in fantasy, I am jealous. I don't know if he's really a surprise player. I had Kincaid even on the short list, but we've seen Kincaid do what he's doing this year in many ways in the last couple seasons as well. But I think he's the most reliable receiver that they have. I would argue that if you're in a situation you need someone to catch the ball and make a play, I'm looking at Kincaid if I'm Josh Allen.
Yeah. I think just for clarity for everybody that's watching this video, I think a lot of it is there's a ton of teams where I think everybody's doing exactly what you expected them to do. So I've tried to dive into there are some weird stats that I think a lot of people probably would not know. And that was my surprise factor with maybe teams where it's not as obvious. Team that I also think is not as obvious as we go down to the AFC North is the Baltimore Ravens. Also another weird team, but who do you have?
I guess my choice, I'm still looking at some of the offense. This has been a weird year for the Ravens in general. I mean, coming into us recording, they'd be just at 500, 5-5. And obviously Lamar missed games, but I'm surprised more maybe by the defense. And we've criticized that defense. They've kind of came to play recently, but I have Zay Flowers. He's set up for a career high in receiving yards and receptions. And again, on a year that's been so off balance, I think you got to give a lot of credit to Zay being able to go out and do this with a certain level of consistency. Especially
with 3 different quarterbacks throwing him the ball this year as well, too. I put Zay Flowers as well. 700 yards this year at 1,000 last year. So even with Lamar not being there for a chunk of the season, he still is on for a much better season. Somebody that it just seems like they get better every single year. It's very surprising. Cincinnati Bengals, I'll dive into it. I put my surprise as Joe Flacco.
We're the same. I swear we didn't talk about it.
No, we didn't at all.
I have the Joe Flacco experiment. I'm with you.
I went with him. He's about to turn 41 years old in January, which is crazy. I mean, you guys are nearly the same age, so you got to imagine being out there as well too. But they put up 131 points in the first 4 weeks that he was there. Granted, they still lost 3 of those games. That's not his fault because the defense is horrific. We've talked about that. But that's a brand new offense. He's putting up that many points, dude. Joe Flacco, I think, has to be it. So
I agree across the board, especially considering what we'd sort of seen previously with Browning. That was a tough watch. But they have O-line issues. They have defensive issues. They have coaching issues. They have all the issues. And somehow we've at least got entertaining football. I think this year is going to be a wash for the Bengals. Which again, we'll head to the car wash and we'll double dip with that with another franchise that has struggled tremendously with the Browns. There are a couple of young players with the Browns that I don't know if they surprised you, but they're definitely living up to the hype. You can tell me what direction you're going in, but I've been okay with, I guess, watching some of the young talent. That sounds crazy because the team's been terrible. The results have been terrible.
If anybody takes that out of context, it's also very terrible as well, too. But, it is what it is. Yeah, watching the young talent. Fannin is who I took, a rookie from Bowling Green. Debatably the worst quarterbacks in the entire league throwing him the football. We've already spoke about Sanders.
Your boy Sanders is making appearances now. He's making appearances.
That's like that little meme where it's like the little rat walks to the door and walks right back out. Nothing really fucking happened. Sorry about the cursing right there, by the way. But yeah, I don't know. He's taken over. They thought Njoku was going to be the guy. He's got 400 yards and Njoku has 288. Bowling Green tight end. I don't know. It's just nothing you really expected. So that's who I chose.
Yeah, for your point, it's a rookie campaign, 3 different QB features, none of them good. He's an Ohio native. It leads the team in receptions. I mean, we could talk about Judkins as well. I love the way that he plays the game. Went on record, and just to be different here, I think I'm going to include Judkins. I think they just run the Wildcat. None of the QBs, just run the Wildcat. Judkins plays hard. He could probably figure out a way to get you 3.5 yards, give or take, every time he touches the ball. So just let him touch the ball and just go for it. It'll be different. Maybe Tim Tebow will support it, and we'll just keep it moving. It'll be better than what's happening right now for the Browns.
I could agree with that. Pittsburgh Steelers, I went with Rodgers. Just because I think so many people thought, like, hey, man, just hang it up, like, be done, like, just call it a day with all of this. And he's not doing that bad. His stats aren't necessarily a whole, they're kind of the same realm in terms of last year and this year, but it's like, I didn't expect him to do any good over there. I don't think he has really like a crazy amount of offensive weapons is what I would say for him to still be putting up some of these numbers that he is, but he was my surprise guy on the Steelers.
Yeah, one of my major critiques with the Steelers offense is the lack of a second or third option in terms of wide receivers, because DK does get a lot of looks and eyes on him, and it's almost set up perfectly for someone to have a breakout year. I will say Mike Tomlin loves to run the ball. I was thinking about players that have stood out for me. You got Mountain Washington with the biggest tight end ever. 6'7". You ever watch WWE? He looks like somebody coming in, just a giant out there playing amongst just boys. The highlights that he puts together make me very happy. I was even looking into the James Pierre, but I think maybe the surprise this way, because again, a run heavy team, Gainwell. I mean,
he was a close one for me.
He doesn't hit some of the headlines, but he's had to step in. He's been able to do it when Jalen Warren's needed a break or a breather. And I think he deserves just more attention. Across the board, he's a good receiving back. Maybe, again, I have that bias where I'm looking at backups, I'm looking at starters. I like these running backs that can do both. And he had those years at Philly where he sort of was contributing in a similar manner. I'd say, if anything, this year he's likely to top every part of his career in terms of more chances to run the ball, being able to make gain more yards, and then collectively between running the ball and receiving. So I've got Gainwell. Doesn't maybe get the headlines, but I think that he deserves a lot of credit at the Steelers, who are looking like they're going to make that playoff run.
They always do. They somehow always do. All right. Well, the next division that we head over to is the AFC South, and there are not a lot of teams here that look like they're going to make a playoff run.
Hey, watch your mouth. Watch your mouth.
All right, well, let's say we did talk about it a little bit before, and it's the surprise playoff run for us is what we had talked about. Who do you have for Jacksonville, man?
The Jaguars, they just kind of keep getting the results, and they're probably going to put themselves in a position, as much as I don't think either of us are really on board with the Trevor Lawrence experience or him as a pro, even with all the tools that he has. We'll see. I might have to eat my words some more. There haven't really been many competitive Jacksonville teams throughout our lifetime. There's been a few, but I mean that with respect. I look at Etienne. I mean that with respect. I just came in just trashing, right? I'm not a Jacksonville guy. What do you want me to do?
Nobody
what do you want me to do, bro?
Yeah.
This is a division I watch a lot of. So I will say this. Etienne, I thought was going to get replaced, and he's kind of been cooking. I thought with the new rookies coming in, even in a best case scenario, I thought it was going to be one of those shared backfields. And it hasn't really been a shared system. I mean, Etienne, if anything, is going to be back to 100,000 plus yards. I'd say over 10 touchdowns, at least between receiving and running. And again, I can't believe I'm saying this, but we talked about it in a previous video. I think they're making the playoffs. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I mean, you're not the only one eating your words, just because I think I talked about how people used to compare Trevor Lawrence to Herbert, and last week was not a fantastic time to watch football for me. My surprise one, as I've mentioned before, I'm an ASU guy, so I watched a lot of the college teams around here. I didn't have much faith in Travis Hunter on offense. That, it could be a personal vendetta against Colorado, which I think some people have figured out by now. I thought he was going to be a better corner than he was going to be a receiver. He had 28 catches, 300 yards in 7 games. He could have had like a 600, 700-yard season potentially before injury, but he surprised me just because I expect him to be better on defense than I did offense.
And he was building a momentum as well. Before this injury, I think he got hurt, I believe, in practice as well. It was an LCL, I think, in that injury, but
non-contact,
quite unlucky, because he was building in, whether it's confidence, just more looks, more targets. We could see that happening at Jacksonville.
We could, yeah. Zero confidence on this team. Let's go to the Tennessee Titans. Who do you have for them?
I was going to say, can I get one of those NAs, not applicable or whatever, like when you click on the box. What do you want us to do? The Titans should not have won a game this year. They shouldn't have.
No.
Like the Cardinals-Titans game that they won was I don't know how to describe that game. If you haven't seen it, rewatch it and you find some words. It was laughable. You couldn't write a script like this if you tried. Maybe Dyke for some of the rookie movements. He's gotten a few touches, but I almost think I'm forcing somebody to talk about. I've been surprised with how terrible. Maybe I didn't expect a lot, but this is really a rough watch.
I could go with that too, to be honest. I just put down Gunnar Helm. He hasn't done bad so far this year, the tight end. So But yeah, realistically, there's not a whole lot, and I would have much preferred just to put NA there as well. You're a Texans guy. Let's let you lead off
Hey,
the Texans here.
we're getting things done, sort of. It's been crazy. It's been quite a ride. I put down a few different names. I'll tell you where I'm finishing up. But I mean, Hutchinson's coming in, Higgins, Noel. A lot of the young receivers are starting to get a little more confidence. They're getting in the game. They're getting reps. But I think we have to give some credit to Davis Mills. General Mills, if you will. He's had to step in and get results. Obviously, Stroud has been out for a few games, and we needed those results. In fact, we need every single result. And the comeback game against Jacksonville was something spectacular where he threw for nearly 300 yards. It all happened late. It was in the fourth quarter, but it did happen. And because of that, we're in a position to do something. And we have fantastic defense, and I'm okay with it. Last time we chatted about the Texans on camera, we weren't sitting in this position. So we're moving in the right direction.
If we talked about you guys coming back against Jacksonville last week, I would have said, who cares? It's Jacksonville, but I can no longer say that. I just went with Hutchinson too, man. The guy had 117 yards last year, and he's on 3 touchdowns this year. Like you said, I think some of the younger guys are getting confident, and it helps with the team. And I'll be honest, I wish I could have seen Travis Hunter the rest of this year, and that's what I kind of keep thinking about right now.
If anything, I went with Davis Mills, by the way. I was surprised by General Mills coming in and being able to toss the ball around. We haven't had no O-line. We don't really have a consistent running game either. So shout out to General Mills.
Yeah, we'll see if he finds
I want to clarify.
Speaking of someone that should have all the confidence in the entire world right now, I went with Daniel Jones for the Colts. I think that's the most obvious thing ever. I think most people thought that he was just going to be a fill-in until they could draft a quarterback, as I think anybody would have expected based off his career path up until this point. He's the man, dude. He can sling the football. He looks confident as all hell out there. And the Colts are incredible. So who do you have?
I'm on the same page with you because as good as Jonathan Taylor has been, and he might be on an MVP campaign and deservedly so, the surprise, again, has to be Daniel Jones. There were more questions than answers when Jones arrived from New York City to come to the Indianapolis Colts, and he has answered every one of those. This is what happens when you give the players a little more optionality. You got a run game that's consistent. You have a fantastic offensive line. They just made improvements to some of the key areas on the defense. The Colts are dangerous. There's no other way to say it. I can't believe I'm saying that about this division has gone in a different direction than I expected this year. That's all I'm going to say, which leads us with the last division of the AFC. Let's go to the West, and we can start with your Chargers.
Yeah, another division that would you have had the Broncos in first in the division at
not
the start
being
of this
good
year?
Come on, not this good.
Yeah,
no chance. Not this.
I don't think I would.
It's not that they're having success, right? But like nobody would expect that they'd be leading the division over the Kansas City Chiefs, and then this type of record where they've had all sorts of different games too. We could save it for the Broncos, but they have played in some ugly games where they've gotten the results this season.
They have, and we ate our words with them beating the Chiefs as well too. I went with Gadsden. He came in, rookie tight end, man, 507 yards and 2 touchdowns out of Syracuse. He looks like, I guess the way I can describe it is, this does not look like his rookie season at all. If you were just to turn on a random Chargers game, didn't know anything about him, you wouldn't expect him to be a rookie. I also had like a second one there with Keenan Allen. Not because I don't think Keenan Allen's a bad player. I think a lot of people maybe had questions with him coming back to the Chargers from the Bears because it wasn't an overwhelmingly incredible season at the Bears. Obviously, he had Caleb Williams throwing the ball, and I think there's a tad bit of a difference between Caleb Williams and Justin Herbert. I still will stand on that hill, but who did you have for them?
I thought Gadsden's a great shout. I mean, he's one of those players that's a bit of a rarity where he goes between being a receiver and a tight end. He did some of that in college, of course, coming in and looking like a pro off rip. I put Vidal because he's now been the leading running back and he has the most yards running the ball for the team, but he wasn't even on my radar. He was the backup. And here he is. So I think when you're talking about surprises, I thought Gadsden would have a chance to get reps. He's done better than expected, but I didn't think that we'd even see Vidal really on the field. He wasn't on my radar at all. So here you go, Vidal. We're giving you a moment on the tailgate talk. And I guess we could go from here to the Chiefs. We can go to the Broncos. Let's go to neither. We're going to go to the Raiders.
Surprise B. People are going to be mad at me for this take, and it's completely fine. I just feel like I say it way too much, but I'm a Scattaboo guy. I was not a Genty guy. I thought that Scattaboo's competition in college was a lot tougher than what Genty had to put up with at Boise. I was honestly hoping that Genty would suck. I really, really was, and everybody's going to eat their words. So it might not be a surprise to everybody that he is doing very well, but it was just a surprise, unfortunately, to me that he's doing as well as he is, and he basically is that offense with Bowers.
I guess I'm surprised that Geno Smith has a job. It's not been fun to watch the Raiders. I mean, Brock Bowers making catches this way and that way. I think the surprise for me is going to be Trey Tucker, who's kind of stepped into a serious role on the receiving duty. He's going to have career highs just across the board in his career. And he's also from Ohio. I am not from Ohio, but I think I'm going to do something that's rare, and I'm going to shout out to the Ohioans, which I don't know if that is a thing.
Don't know if I've ever heard that.
Yeah, we don't need to spend a lot of time with the Raiders. Let's go to the Chiefs, who are definitely having an underwhelming season, at least at this point as we're recording.
Okay, yeah, for the fans' expectations, 100%. Once again, they started off a little beat up at the beginning of the year, so people did have to step up. I think there were obviously expectations when certain players came back that they were going to do well. A lot of people I don't want to say kind of like Rodgers, but kind of like Rodgers were like, hey, hang it up to Travis Kelce. You're done. He's had some weird, bad drops this year for sure, and you see it everywhere. But it's weird for me to go look at the stats, and he had 820 yards last year. He's 631 already this year. I'm
one of those people, Buck. I'm one of the people.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
When he went early in the drafts for fantasy, I said, oh no, that's a mistake. That's an error. That's a bad choice. I was like, this guy's getting over the hill. He's running a podcast. He's marrying a pop star. He doesn't have time to focus on football. It's a show. It actually is a reality TV show. And I've had to eat those words. He's probably been one of the only major positives maybe from Kansas City. He's been super consistent and reliable on the receiving core. Not to steal any fire here, but it sounds like we're both talking about Travis Kelce being the selection.
Yeah, I think it was just surprising. No one thought that he'd surpass last year to this year. There's no chance. Denver Broncos, I think, are a very weird one. My surprise is that they all just group together in the fourth quarter and say, hey, should we start trying now? Because that's what it feels like it happens every game, at least for the offense. We can't say for the defense. For the offense, that's, I think, a very fair analogy of how they play football right now. For me, it was J.K. Dobbins, dude, when I was going through all the stats of these players, J.K. Dobbins is doing a lot better this year than I expected. He's on pace to beat last year. And I think with just how weird the Broncos offense is, I wouldn't necessarily expect anybody to be having a better year than whatever they've done prior.
I don't know if it's a huge surprise, but we probably should give plenty of credit to the Broncos defensive line. The pressure that they create is, I mean, it's a dream scenario if you're a fan of anything coming out of Denver. Even the offensive line has shown up in a lot of big moments. You've got someone like Troy Franklin, who's on my list. He's having a breakout, already doubled his yards from last season, still has plenty of games left in the tank. I think RJ Harvey, which has now been another option, rookie, it gives you a little bit of a mix-up from the Dobbins. And he's, again, a quality receiving back. If anything, we've realized that I have over-crediting maybe if you catch the ball out of the backfield. Apparently that is going to give you so many bonus points this way. But the Broncos are still overachieving, and I still don't believe. And they have made me lose money on a lot of bets against them this year.
Same. Yeah, exact same.
Let's move into the NFC East, and it only seems right we start with the current world champions, or the Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles.
I went with Hurts. And I think he's my surprise player just because we're seeing a lot more out of him, I guess, this year than I kind of expected. They're not going through Saquon nearly as much. He has 16 passing touchdowns already this year compared to 18 last year. He's only thrown one pick. I know I'm not necessarily the hugest Hurts guy, but he surprised me this year.
Yeah, for me, I was looking at the receivers, and I guess I always expect something big out of A.J. Brown. And I feel like this year in particular, at least coming into this, 9 games, 457 yards. Last year, we had 13 games over 1,000. And he's almost one of those guys you lock in that you're going to get 1,000+ yards per season. And I would say if you were a betting man, if you had odds on this, it would be unlikely. Even Saquon's influence, and maybe it's not fair to Saquon, last year, obviously, everything ran through him. One of those seasons that everyone talks about on repeat, and this year has been much more forgettable. But I had A.J. Brown as my guy because I don't know that he's going to get there.
Fair. I thought we were doing surprise. Like
I'm surprised by that result. I mean, maybe it's not a surprise good.
I was going to say, that's fine with me. I would have done something.
I don't like the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't like Philly. We've talked about this. In fact, this division is not the one that I like complimenting. We can do this every time we get to the NFC East. I got the Cowboys in there. Don't like them. I got the Eagles in there. Don't like them. The Giants are sort of local, so I'll let them rock. The Commanders have been terrible this season. Where do you want to go, Buck? I'm revved up. I just had a Red Bull. I am ready to go.
I need a damn Red Bull right now. Let's go to the Giants. I took Scatterboo. I've watched every game at ASU with him. He went 4th round. Every single team passed up on this guy, and he's sick. He's really good, and it sucks that he's injured, but I'm excited when he comes back.
I hope that he's able to stay healthy because he brought back that joy of football. There's this rawness with Scatterboo. He reminds me of the Rob Gronkowski type of player where there might be some jokes made, but this guy loves the game through and through, and he is an underdog. You're not wrong. I remember watching him in college being like, oh, I'm looking forward to see if he could develop into a pro. And again, overlooked constantly. He goes 100 miles per hour on every single play. And for the New York Giants, who I don't want to say are rebuilding, but you needed your potential to kind of step in. He showed that potential, and there was hype. I looked forward to every week watching them play, him and Dart going at it. Could they get the results?
They just changed the whole locker room around, which was the coolest thing. Locker room that needs to be changed around, Washington Commanders. This is one where, once again, there's some teams where everybody's underperforming, so there's not really a surprise player. I just went with Jalen Lane. He's a 4th-round draft pick. He's got 16 catches for 225 yards. The quarterback situation there is all over the place, so he's not doing too bad considering that circumstance.
Maybe my overview is I'm surprised by the lack of competitiveness this season. I know they've had a bunch of injuries. If anything, maybe we should give more credit to Daniels. I mean, they weren't good prior to last season where Daniels went on that run. You, of course, had even the run up in the playoffs. I put Mariota because I thought he was been pretty good as a backup QB, but that said, still hasn't translated to results. And I mean, you've had major injuries in the wide receiver department, but either way, I just wonder if my expectations were too high. I almost think that my surprise is the fact that they are going to finish likely so far under 500. I just don't see it turning for them this season.
I don't see it turning either. Dallas Cowboys are the last team in the NFC East. You go first.
George Pickens is the truth. Man, I thought he was good at Pittsburgh, and I'm not trying to discredit any of his previous accomplishments, but wow, what an absolute target. And we saw some of that with CeeDee Lamb, of course, being injured, and he just stepped into it like nothing. I mean, 10 games in, 58 receptions, over 900 yards. I would not be surprised whatsoever if he winds up well over 1,500 yards. You know, I don't like giving out compliments to the Cowboys. And I was thinking earlier today, this might be the most prolific 1-2 receiver combo in the league when you're dealing with CeeDee Lamb and you're trying to deal with George Pickens. You pick one, you're not going to shut down the other.
No, I had Pickens as my second choice as well, too, for them. For literally the exact same reason. I knew he was good. I did not think he was this damn good. And maybe it's because didn't watch a whole lot of Steelers last year, though. So, yeah, I put Javonte Williams. He had 513 rushing yards last year. He's got over 800 already this year, and he's doubled his touchdown total, too. So, I think he's been a very big factor for that team as well, and definitely was a surprise for me. But we can head over to the NFC North now, which is also a giant surprise what's going on over there. Let's go with the Chicago Bears.
You know, I love watching the Bears. I didn't know this was going to be a season where these guys were looking playoff bound. I think the easy choice for many of those folks at home, if you're talking about surprises, maybe Caleb Williams, but I'm actually leaning more on Monangai and the rookie. He's been a beast. This campaign has been something special, and it gives you even more versatility to the run game. And when you look at it, Swift, I believe is going to go for over 1,000 rushing, probably giving you 350, 400 receiving. Monangai is probably going for 650 on the ground and at least another couple hundred in the air. So on the Mike projections, you're talking 23, 2,400 yards between two backs. That is a winning formula, and it helps Caleb Williams. He might get a lot of the credit because he's the QB and he's running around, but these two guys have put together a foundational key component of giving you a little more relief at the QB position, and the consistency has been there. So shout out to the rookie Monangai.
Who would have thought at the beginning of the year that the Chicago Bears and the Giants would be like the two most fun teams to watch right now? It's or were, I'd say. The Giants not really anymore, but I went with just Caleb Williams just because I need to eat my words on the fact that I've said this guy sucks forever. He's had 5 fourth quarter comebacks. They literally just like it's kind of like what you said before. Every single time you watch the Bears, they always miss that last field goal. They always miss something to win the game and finally clutch it out. And this year they're getting back for all of it, for all those heartbreaks that they had. Weird one, just based off of this past game, we can kind of talk about too. Detroit Lions is the next one. I went with Goff. And the reason I went with Goff is kind of the surprise is because a lot of people thought that he was going to taper off and fall off a bit once the offensive coordinator left over to the Bears. Aside from looking like trash against the Eagles, and he looked like a pile of trash against them, just I think they rattled the hell out of him. That Eagles defense has done that to a lot of people now as well. I think he's looked completely fine basically up until that point. And like I said, it was a surprise because people thought that he was going to fall off.
And I put as a surprise, maybe it shouldn't have been, these fools don't like a fourth down. In that game in particular, you could rerun it. So I didn't know where I wanted to go because last year, obviously the Lions were untouchable across the board. I feel like they're building in the right direction, but they just had that step back against the Eagles. I still would not want to face the Lions, but I almost feel offensively everyone's doing what they were supposed to do. It still looks very similar to what my expectations were as an organization. So I didn't have a major move unless we started talking about some of the defense. You wanted to get in the O-line. If anything, it's maybe the commitment to that fourth down that I love watching, even if it works or doesn't work. We're just going to go for it. We're going to shoot our shot.
Fair.
I got a couple of those generalist rules or movements in here. I'm not forcing anything with my surprises. The fact that they keep going for it might be the surprise. Maybe I should forget about it.
The surprise is that Campbell has no idea that he has a kicker on the sideline. Like,
there's no trust in the kicker.
No, there's zero,
absolutely not.
I don't know what he did or who he dated. Something happened, though. Green Bay Packers, I went with Tucker Kraft just because before he got injured, he was insane. He had 490 yards in 8 games. Dude, with the way that he was playing, I think he definitely could have cracked 1,000 yards this year. Green Bay's a weird team, though, man. They have a bunch of wide receivers that aren't superstars. It's all like they kind of build people up. So I don't know if anybody had crazy expectations from any of them, but Kraft was my guy.
Yeah, I'll reiterate, we did not talk about this prior, but Kraft as well before the ACL tear in the Carolina game, and he would have cracked 1,000 plus and 10 TDs. Was the most dynamic receiver, even as a tight end, that they have. Hands down in my eyes. And this was his breakout year. I mean, it's not that he was not putting up numbers previously, but this was going to be that season where you started putting him in that conversation as like upper echelon, tight end, goodness, gold. Can you shut him down? Can you deal with him? Probably not. So I look forward to seeing what he puts together next season after his recovery, of course. Let's go with an underperforming team, if you will, with the Vikings. And if anything, they kind of make me a little angry. I'm irritated.
Can my surprise be they got rid of Sam Darnold? We bring it up every single video now.
Why not? Like, say it. Say what you need to say.
That's the surprise is why the hell did you get rid of him? I have down Jalen Naylor, 400 yards last year. He's got 318 already this year. McCarthy hasn't necessarily been that quarterback. Wentz, I believe, has been throwing the ball over there as well, too. It's just, I don't know. If you're doing good with those two guys throwing the ball and doing better than last year, that's my surprise.
I'm so frustrated with the Vikings because this is just not a middle of the road team, but this QB fiasco is forced them to be just that. I feel Justin Jefferson's frustrations, and that's why I put down as my surprise player because it's not really his fault, but when you have a combination, Jefferson, Addison, just throw it up to him. Let him do things. And I know the numbers aren't terrible or anything for Justin Jefferson this year, but they could be so much more. And his influence, his loudness, his presence, it doesn't feel the same because he's just not getting the right type of optionality. Give him the ball and let him make things happen. The guy is so special, and I felt like this year he was going to have a chance for one of those 1,800, 2,000 yards. And the Vikings team didn't change outside of the QB, generally speaking. They should be doing so much better. They're not going to make the playoffs, or at least I don't think so. And I can't believe I'm saying that out loud amongst the division.
Yeah, just throw the ball in his damn area, and it should just be that easy. NFC South is next. Let's start off with the Saints, because they're such a fun team to talk about.
Well, I know who you chose, and I was already setting it up for you. A little Spencer Rattler is the surprise in at least a negative manner. They shipped out Shaheed. They're in a rebuild now, and I was looking at their results, and they had close games with the Cardinals and the 49ers, the Patriots. They beat the Panthers. They beat the Giants. This should be a mid-tier team at least, where they had something to play for, and now it's a matter of, well, let's try to get the best draft picks available.
Yeah, my thing was, how does Rattler still have a job was my surprise, but I had Shaheed before he got traded as well too. He had 500 yards in 9 games. His career best was 700, so on pace, but he hasn't really got a whole lot of looks at the Seahawks just yet is the only thing, so I don't know if he'll beat it, but he was one of the shining parts of that team before he departed. Carolina Panthers.
Send it to me. I'm ready. Send it to me.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
I don't know if you do. I don't know. I think we have an equal surprise.
Like 8 times.
We have an equal surprise here to me. I don't know if I'm more surprised that Bryce Young just threw for 448 yards in 1 game, or Rico Dowdle. And of course, what he's been able to put together, 11 games, he's averaging 5 a carry, 800 something yards. We thought he might have got replaced, or at least he was going to have a split backfield coming into the year. I mean, he's got a couple hundred receiving, but I might just give Bryce Young some love that I didn't expect to give. I mean, the first overall pick in the 2023 season, and I would be lying through my teeth if I thought this was possible, or if I thought the Carolina Panthers would be in this type of position. They've been fun to watch as well. These games have not been boring games.
They have not been boring games. I thought, yeah, I mean, we've shouted out Rico Dowdle, I think, every single video at this point.
He deserves it. He's earned it.
He's 4th in the NFL for rushing yards as of the time that we filmed this video right now, which is crazy. I don't think anybody expected that, considering the fact that he didn't really even have the starting spot when he went there. So, Rico Dowdle, 85th shout out in this channel. You're our pick for surprise player. Tampa Bay is a weird one because we've talked about it, but so many of those guys are overperforming. So I went off of Mbuka, where it's basically we all expect him to be really good, but it was kind of like the same thing with Pickens. I don't know if we expect him to be this good. He's 8th in the NFL right now for receiving touchdowns, and then he's also 12th in the NFL for receiving yards. I had those mixed up right there on my notes, but he could be in the argument for a top 15 receiver in the league easily right now. I think it surprised me.
He's clear as the number 1 receiver. Even if they were healthy, he would have overtaken the likes of Mike Evans, Godwin, Sterling Shepard. I don't know if you want to throw like Cade Otton onto the mix-up of different receiving targets. We knew that he was good at Ohio State, came in with a lot of momentum. First-round selection, of course. I think they had the 18th, 19th pick. Don't quote me as perfection. But really, it's been Mbuka and maybe Mayfield are the only 2 major standouts of consistency for the Bucs. So I also, that's the surprise. We thought he'd be good, but did you think he's going to walk through a 1,000+ yard receiving season, which is knocking on the door already? No, I didn't. And I also didn't know that everybody was going to be injured for the Bucs, and they'd be in a position where they're 6-4 with that amount of injuries, especially with their schedule. The Bucs have had to play a lot of top tier organizations and competition up to this point.
That Bills game was a good game too that they just played. Atlanta Falcons, my surprise player is that anybody's on pace to beat any of their yards from last year with Penix throwing the ball. So kind of a crap one, but I just went with Kyle Pitts. He's on pace to beat his 600 yards last year. There's not a whole lot of excitement in Atlanta, man.
It's sort of remarkable if you think about it, because they have a top 15 defense. They're the second most with sacks in this season, at least coming into this recording. You got a 12th ranked O-line. And the real is that Penix holds the ball way too long. My surprise is that Penix is kept keeping the job. I would have put Kirk Cousins back into motion. Plays with more heart, has more energy, has experience with these players. And none of their skilled players, at least they're major guys. Bijan's not having a bad year. Same with Pitt. Same with Drake London. I just would have flipped it. Bring Kurt back in and see if that changes something.
It was so weird when they brought Kirk Cousins over there originally, and then they went and just drafted a quarterback right away as well, because everybody thought Kurt was going to be the man. So, Yeah, I think he will be. I was obviously going to be playing now, though. Arizona Cardinals. This is, I feel, very obvious answer as we move over to the NFC West. It's got to be Brissett. No one thought that he was going to take Kyler's spot. As someone that lives in Arizona, there's a lot of people here that wanted Kyler out for a very, very, very long time. I just don't think anybody actually expected that it was going to happen. And kind of happened like this too, because Brissett's playing well. Like, yeah, he looks a lot better out there than I think Kyler does. He looks more composed, which is kind of crazy as well. But he was my surprise guy.
You might see a theme for me amongst this division. I've kind of gone the reverse route with the Cardinals, where my surprise was Kyler Murray.
Okay.
Because coming into the year, I just thought he'd be better than he's been. Cardinals have an easy strength of schedule. Obviously, the injury, then Brissett coming in, et cetera, et cetera. But I did not expect him to kind of be overtaken. I don't think we're going to see the return of Kyler Murray. He's going to have to go elsewhere.
Do you have any early guesses on where you think he might end up going?
We're going to take him to Vegas, and it's going to be a failed experiment with the Las Vegas Raiders.
That'd be kind of crazy.
Raider Nation.
Let's go to the Rams next. Let's see, you start this one off.
It's got to be Stafford. I mean, he was good last year, but he's been elite this season. 27 TDs, 2 picks. These guys have looked unstoppable, unbeatable. I mean, Puka's been catching everything as you would expect. You got Adams. I mean, it looks good. Just well-oiled machine.
I went with Devontae Adams, man, because I feel like he's rolled back the years a bit, and that was obviously surprising. As of now, I think he's the number 1 in receiving touchdowns this year, which is pretty crazy. Also, this is the 5th highest total for yards that he's ever had throughout his entire career, like as of like today. So he still obviously has a few more games to go. I don't know if anybody expected it, because obviously Puka is their guy. And he's been kind of just working around and doing his thing as well too. So went with him. Let's go to the 49ers so we can actually end this on the Seahawks, which will probably be fun to talk about.
I'm good with that. So I put Mac Jones. I thought he showed up. I thought that he actually was able to maybe take that job. I don't know if I would have brought back Purdy, even though Purdy came in and kind of reinitiated his position. But Mac Jones is a backup. He's done a lot for his stock. Biggest surprise easily, because he really airs it out. It's a little bit different than how Purdy plays. And whether or not he ends up with the 49ers long-term, there will be a lot of teams that are interested in maybe a Mac Jones pickup, because he also played through a bunch of injuries and knocks. If you were watching the 49ers this year, I felt like he was always hurt just a little bit. Like he was always stumbling around, and he made it happen. He stayed in the game.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see where he winds up, because I don't think there's any way he can sit there as a backup. I just went like happy surprise, like uplifting that McCaffrey's had a very, very good bounce back year after being injured. He's currently at his 3rd highest receiving total ever throughout like any season he's ever had, which is pretty crazy. And I think the craziest part about that to me is the fact that so many people are hurt that the ball's going to him and he's still putting up these numbers. So that's our happy surprise over there. All right, the last one is the Seattle Seahawks. There's a lot of players there that are doing really well that not a whole lot of people maybe expected to this degree. Who do you have?
Yeah, you've had the defense showing up. Obviously, the offense is doing their thing. Sam Darnold would make a lot of sense. I'm not mad. I don't know who you picked out, but JSN's having one of those run-up seasons where, depending how it closes out, he might get close to or even surpass 2,000 yards receiving. That's a rarity. You don't see that happen. And it's kind of in that MVP convo again, if you're able to put that together. And I mean, it's just been a guarantee almost that he gets 100+ yards every single game. Doesn't matter who's on defense. He's been unstoppable. So that's been my surprise. Did I think he would be good? Absolutely. Did I think he'd be anywhere near this level? No chance.
That's basically exactly what I have written down as well, too. He's already passed his total for yards last year with 30 less catches this year, which I think is wild as well. He's good. He's fun to watch. They're an exciting team to watch. And if you have watched this entire video, thank you for making it to the very end. If you guys want us to do the most underwhelming players, once again, please leave a like. And Mike, you got anything else to tell the people?
Subscribe. It's a brand new channel. Subscribe, please, and thank you.